say, like, right?
Oh, we're supposed to have. Whatever you guys.
I gave you a gist yesterday, no?
That's called slacking, bro.
No.
When I do my thing, I come in
I try to call
prepared.
you guys. I'm prepared.
They wanna keep us low. They think that we don't know. So we gon' show them that this kingdom about to rise up. They wanna keep us low. They think that we don't know. So we gon' show them that this kingdom about to rise up. Rise, 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 messengers of Jesus Christ, fighting till we see his kingdom. They wanna keep us low. They think that we don't know. So we gon' show them that this kingdom about to rise up. They wanna keep us low. They think that we don't know. So we gon' show them that this kingdom about to rise up. Rise, 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 rise,
Yeah. We back. We rise. We got Jarrod.
Why don't
Marv.
you play the music?
We're live.
Oh.
What's going on?
And we got this guy over here, brother Jaylon.
Man,
Jaylon,
What's up, guys?
what's going on, man? Nice to have you, brother.
blessing. Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Yeah.
Humbled. Be around some big, dangerous guys like you.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Hey, yeah. Hit it. What do you got for us, brother?
Before we get into our esteemed guest, let's talk some sports, man.
Yeah.
We are.
Patriots, man. Patriots.
All right, Jarrod's out of this one. So
Wait,
anyway, so
come on.
Jarrod's out of this conversation. Anyway, so we had the UFC Saturday night.
Oh, UFC.
We had he's talking about the Patriots and the football season's over. Anyway,
Does he know what UFC is?
I don't think so.
I don't think
I know you're a UFC fighter, right?
so. I wish. I'd be making
That was a
lot
low
more money.
blow.
No, I mean, like UFC,
That was a low blow.
is it?
Hey,
Well, mixed martial art is all the same. That's what I mean.
So
we had-
UFC is an organization, like
I know. What
Showtime Boxing.
So you're C.
HBO
I should.
Boxing.
We could
The
call
Zone.
you. So it's fair to call you CES.
No, my name's Todd.
That's what he is.
So
CES.
anywho, we
It's a
had the
promotion.
UFC. We had the heavyweight title fight. Francis Ngannou versus Stipe Miocic. And Ngannou took the belt from Miocic. Did
Yeah.
you see that fight?
Impressively.
He did, and he makes one of 3 African-born champions in the UFC. First time that's ever happened. And
One of 3.
Well,
so
there's 3. I don't
He's one of
think
3.
Usman was born in Africa. I
Yeah.
think his
No, Usman-
parents were.
No, he was. Usman
Oh, he
is
was?
African.
Adesanya.
Israel Adesanya, and now Ngannou.
Yeah, so there's 3 African champions right now.
Now,
It's pretty cool.
what do you think? What do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
I just think these guys came from nothing. They were hungry and they perfected their craft. Ngannou fought for the title. I think it was 5 years ago. 4
Yeah.
or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But he was so new to the sport, and he still went 5 rounds with Stipe back then.
He lost that one.
Right, but this time he had Dewey Cooper. He had a lot of good trainers in his corner, including
He was
Usman, who helped him with his wrestling, because that's one thing he didn't have.
He was more well-rounded.
I like to say my belief. I could be off, but I have a couple of Facebook friends that train in Nigeria, and their boxing gym is the back outside. Dirt. It's like the dirt's flying all over the place, and there's bags hanging from the trees. And the luxury of a regular boxing gym where you come in and you get your hands wrapped. These kids don't get their hands wrapped.
Yeah.
They're training in dirt, Mom.
No shoes.
No,
touch on.
listen, yeah. So automatically, that fortitude is different. You know, they're coming. They you know, they got nothing to lose. They train in the worst case scenario. And you know, just like old time fighters, like, you know, when they used to run with big, heavy. You ever see a fighter, a boxer, run with combat boots anymore?
No.
They buy the $200 Nikes, and you know, they're floating. They didn't got jets on them, right? Old school, these old school fighters, you know, they go with the
They used
big.
to punch cows.
They get them big. They would run with the big combat boots because the heavier the boot, the better your feet are gonna be come fight night. Yeah, it's uncomfortable running with it and training with it, but that's what it's about, right? Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Ain't that what it's about? So these people in Africa and these fighters that are coming from these areas, they have no choice. This is what it is.
There's one problem with that though. So MMA was predominantly like a white man's sport or Brazilian man's sport, because a lot of people came from, and it still is, because these guys, they don't go to college. So most people that are getting out of college, MMA is like an outlet for a college wrestler. You know what I'm saying? So you're getting more guys coming out of college being successful at college wrestling, transferring into MMA, and they're kind of leaps and bounds ahead, because you can box and all these things, but you know, it takes more money to do wrestling, do all these tournaments, traveling, and all these things. So it's actually like a great accomplishment to have the 3 African champions right now, because it's predominantly, you know, like I said, a Brazilian or a white sport because of the whole college aspect thing of it. So it's actually a good
wrestling,
thing.
Wrestling is one of those things that translates well into MMA, because wrestling can nullify jiu-jitsu. And if you have basic striking, you can still survive. I mean, you got like guys like Matt Hughes, who wasn't a striker, was a dominant wrestler.
Yeah,
but once he got a hold of you and took you down, you couldn't get back up. Randy Couture was the same thing.
Well, Randy Couture was Olympic alternate.
Yeah.
For the arm, he was an Army Olympic alternate for boxing.
And then Dan Henderson, who was great with his hands, but he came from a wrestling
background. So that's what happens. It's mostly the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys and the wrestlers that really do well in the sport.
Because if you're just a striker and you get a Brazilian, if you get somebody who's doing jiu-jitsu, once you're down, you're done.
Yeah.
Well, James
You take
Toney,
away your strength.
he fought Randy
Couture
Couture,
like a fish out of water.
and he was with, you know, Tony hits him, it's over.
Yeah.
He swung, missed, Couture gets under, takedown.
He did a high school like single leg.
Yeah, but Tony never seen that. He doesn't
Like a
know
low
Right.
single leg take.
Fight is it's different. This is organized. It's different.
Yeah.
You
that.
know.
Well, these guys put their whole lives into it. It's like, you know, what was it? Riddick Bowe went to a K1. He was a former heavyweight champion, so he's thinking like everybody else is thinking. I'm gonna bang this guy. But all the dude did that he fought was leg kick him the whole time. He didn't throw one punch.
Yeah.
He just kept leg kicking him. And then finally Bo just fell on the ground. He couldn't take it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Leg kicks are brutal.
Yeah.
What's that Brazilian family, the Gracies?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Gracies, yeah.
And
Hoist Gracie was so in the beginning, UFC 1, they took Hoist Gracie because he was the smallest and least trained one out of all of them. So they wanted to take him and show how their, you know, style is leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else's. And
Plus, nobody knew jiu-jitsu back then.
Nobody
Hadn't seen
knew,
it.
yeah.
So he was tapping everybody out with arm bars and chokeholds because nobody knew what they were.
he was getting smashed by these guys with boxes, kickboxes. Like he would get smashed for like, you know, a while, and then
Because he was probably what,
he was 185 or something like that.
And he's fighting guys 220, 230.
like no weight classes back then.
So his
And it was, I think it was almost bare enough.
So there was no weight classes. It was like everybody against everybody.
No weight classes, barely any rules.
Really.
And then
Even the weight classes are so different, right? Like
From boxing, big time.
So
you need
different.
that though. You need weight classes, man.
So for the
Look at Francis Ngannou. Let him go against like a Hoist Gracie back then. You'd end up in the hospital or dead maybe.
But I honestly, because of this, but I think Gracie would beat him in his prime. Not now, obviously.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
The sport has evolved.
But I don't think he would know what to do on the ground to stop Gracie.
I think he's so powerful.
No, Gracie. He's
He's so big.
I mean, if you searched it, I bet you Ngannou's probably a purple belt, or you know.
No, he had no jiu-jitsu. He didn't have jiu-jitsu.
No, 5 years ago. The guy's been training with the best in the world for the last 5 years.
Relevant.
I don't know. I'm going to have to look that up. So we talk about weight classes, right? So that's another lead segues into another topic. So John Jones is coming up from 185. Is it right? 205. I'm sorry.
From 205,
and he's going to go heavyweight. And he wants to fight Ngannou. So I don't know how well you follow the sport, but I know you do. So what do you think will be the outcome of that fight?
So we were talking on this, but I think John Jones's reach might be the same. His height might be the same. Ngannou's just a bigger, like maybe thicker boned or just a bigger man, but his power is retired. John Jones hasn't felt anything like that.
But one thing about Jones, he doesn't get hit.
And his fight IQ
is really
good. And he has gotten hit clean, and his chin is really good. But I don't. This is a whole nother level of.
But so you think he would try to stand? I think what happens was he would find a way to shoot in on Ngannou, take him down. His wrestling is superior. Even with that kind of, like I said, John is really, really strong.
Yeah.
He was really strong at the 205.
Yeah.
And you remember his brothers are in the NFL.
Yeah.
So he's used to wrestling with big, strong guys.
They come from an athletic family.
Yeah.
And he said, I've been smashing heavyweights my whole career in training.
I just don't know if anybody will survive a guy like that. Like,
you said you can take it.
I said, he asked me about fighting for $1 million. I said, yeah. And I try to win, but I don't know. I don't think.
Todd said he wants to do the Ngannou challenge. He wants to hit each other in the eyes. He's going to let Francis go first. He's going to let Francis hit him in the face first. Todd's going to hit Francis in the face.
I ain't never scared.
Maybe 6 months later, when he gets out of the coma, but he's still going to hit him.
I'm here.
A permanent head wrap for the rest of your life.
My money's on the Hulk. I don't care what nobody says.
That's right.
I think you said it, Marvin. John Jones's IQ.
His fight IQ.
That's gonna be that right there is the difference between
I'm with you.
taking it to the next level or not. Because it's one thing to go out here and fight, but if you don't understand what's coming before it ever gets there, you have to already. Your mind has to be completely on another level.
He's good at making audibles too. Like,
well, there's the thing. That's the thing.
His game plan's not working. He switches it up, man.
And he's versatile to be able to switch it up.
Yeah.
Because one way is beatable, but he's so smart.
He's got so many tools.
He has so many tools.
Yeah.
So if he does this, there's a counter. If he does this, he could do this. So he has a counter for everything. That's what's going to make this fight dangerous.
And then those kicks to the knees.
What was that fight he came out with like the spider crow and the guy was just looking
He
at
always
him
does that.
Yeah.
That's his
He
signature.
does that when he comes.
Is that where you got the move from, Marvin? There'll be spider crawling everywhere. Look at that.
Boys,
Oh, he's quiet now.
I will say this.
John picture Marvin spider crawling in here.
John Jones has had trouble in the past with people his height and reach. His two hardest fights were like against guys.
He had a hard fight against the Swede. Wow.
Reyes. I know Reyes in the second.
Reyes is like 6'3".
Yeah.
The Swedish guy there. He never got to fight him again either, did he? No,
they had a rematch. He
beat
smoked him the second time.
Yeah.
The first time though, it was real close.
Right.
You could have said it went either way. You know what I mean?
Right.
But those were the fights he was having the most trouble. So Ngannou,
and I think the other guy was beating him before he broke his arm. What was the guy he fought? They went 5 rounds.
broke his arm.
Broke his arm during the fight. John kicked him with a high kick and he blocked it and broke his arm.
Oh.
Not
Who was that?
what the heck was his name? I can't think of his name, but I thought he actually was beating John.
Well, enough about you. Let's talk about me. Enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think about me?
Yeah.
Let's move on from that. We'll be there all day with MMA.
Yeah. We could.
But there's nothing in boxing because boxing is dead now.
Last thing I read, what's his name? Earl Spence was dodging a fight with Crawford.
Oh yeah, Bud Crawford. Yeah, but like I said, boxing is nothing there. Like none of
That's because they won't fight.
each other.
They won't fight Demetrius. That's why there's nothing there.
That's why
if they
we're gonna
stop
get-
fighting Dimitri, that'll be the beginning of everything
Yeah.
right there.
I agree.
But what about
We'll
him?
have him on. We'll have him on.
What's his
on
name?
this.
Tank Davis.
Yeah.
14 charges, hit and run.
Who is it?
Yeah, Tank Davis.
Yeah, Davis.
Yeah. He's,
Oh, really?
14 charges.
Yeah,
he had a
he's
hit and
fighting.
run.
I know he is.
All kinds of.
He's in trouble?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. Hit and run. I think someone
Big
got
trouble.
injured, left the
But
season.
yeah.
Should he be suspended? That's what I want to know.
No, because boxing's not like that. It's not like the UFC.
Yeah.
You can fight. Like, I mean, Mayweather. There's guys who were supposed to go to jail. Mayweather was supposed to go to jail. They let him fight before he went to prison.
Oh, it was like a state execution type of thing?
No, well, they set a date for you to get locked up. Like old school movies. They say, okay, you got to turn yourself in
Yeah,
a month
they call
from
it a
now.
state execution.
Yeah. And so that's pretty common in boxing. They don't care. I mean, Don.
Yeah, but I don't really think they should be allowing these guys to hold a fighting license after you're doing things like that.
But how about this? Think about this. How many fighters wouldn't be able to have a license if they did that?
Hey, how many fighters would straighten up their act?
But these guys, I just think you can't.
I'm saying if you're out on bail, there's a charge pending, things like that.
Oh, Mayweather went to prison for 30 days and he got out and he fought. I mean, you can go down
Well,
the
I'm
line.
saying after you served your time, you did your time, so you paid your debt to
Well,
society.
Marvin's right in a sense. Boxing is that only sport where you could be an arch criminal, and you can still get a fight if you're good and you sell tickets and you're a money name.
Most of the promoters are arch criminals. I mean, they might not have the record, but they're criminals.
Hey,
That's the
you
sad-
said it. I didn't say it. Well, that's boxing's always had a black eye. Boxing has always had a black eye because there's always somebody on the fix. There's a judge that got paid a little extra. There's, boxing has been underneath the things that happen in the back of where nobody sees in boxing is the dirty part where the money starts moving around. And if you're not with the right people, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you're not with the right people, you go nowhere in this game.
Facts.
And that's facts.
Facts.
You can have all the talent, you can have all the package. You get with the wrong people, and your career is going nowhere because before you know it, you become an opponent. And that's what happens. You got to bring these people and these young kids, you got to bring them up right.
Yeah.
There's a process to this. And too many times, I was saying it today, that, it's rare to get promoters and trainers and the right camp, the right people around you that really are there for you and your well-being, your best well-being. So I think any young fighters that are thinking about turning pro, just don't go turn pro with anyone. It matters. If you want to do something in this game, you got to be with the right people.
When you're gonna turn pro, plan on being a champion.
Come and see me.
When you think about some of these guys who are fighting for $500, $200, that's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think this is? Wait, when you first come out, what do you think? You get paid $100 an hour?
That's what I'm saying. But
They ain't giving you
that's
nothing.
horrible.
For free.
We've been fighting for free on this thing.
That's why I couldn't believe they were gonna pay me. $200?
$200. I was taking 20 back then. It cost me more to go and get stitched up after a fight.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The emergency room visits cost me more, and then the restitution I had to pay for other people.
And there's no like unions. There's no what do you call it? Mandatory health insurance. There's no when you retire. There's no retirement.
No,
There's
it's nothing.
Speaking of Gary Boletto, who's another one is going to be
My
on
man,
there.
what's up,
Gary's
Tiger?
coming on. Tiger. Tiger tried to do something with the Teamsters, not too a few years back.
They don't want it though. The sport doesn't want it.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
nothing there for you.
Because you think about most fighters, and this is not my opinion. This is just what the narrative is. Most fighters are not usually intelligent. They dropped out of school. They don't have the business sense, so they sign these contracts. They don't know what they're doing because they're saying, "Well, I could be like, this guy, Mike Tyson," and they don't realize how long and how much it takes to get to that level.
So funny you said that because I was just telling my Sebastian last night about boxing and I said a lot of people use boxing as a way out of poverty of and they're not educated. Some of them go in there and you don't have to be educated in this sport. You don't even have to have a high school diploma to go and turn pro. And look at Mayweather. He still can't read all right. So they say, 50
I mean,
cents.
So they say. So they say.
Well, didn't he say he was going to give him money if he read out of the Harry Potter? I would have been reading that. Wait a minute. He said he was going to give him
Well,
what?
you know what? To his defense, the richest boxer, he don't even need to read.
Oh, you're right.
He's a great businessman. There you go.
There you
You got the right people around him that's reading for him. With his signature for him.
For a guy that's allegedly uneducated,
I know.
he makes a lot of good moves.
Yeah.
Now, what he's doing with the money, I don't know, but he makes a lot of good. I don't know because he's supposed to fight again, right?
Well,
Jake Paul.
That's, yeah.
So my thing is
Money
this.
grab.
Why though?
It's all money got. Listen, Marvin, this is why I told you you're going to switch careers. You go be a social media influencer. We'll get you a fight with anybody. Right now, Oscar De La Hoya is coming out of retirement. They're not saying who, but they're saying a UFC guy. I'll guarantee right now he fights Conor McGregor for a big money show.
Unless it's boxing, we'll murder that guy.
Because already there was,
He's already an old man, too.
but there was chatter with Conor McGregor. They were going at it a while ago, McGregor and
And
De
you
La
know how
Hoya.
Dana feels about Oscar. He hates his guts.
De La Hoya just,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Dana don't like Oscar at all.
Oh, promotes MMA.
Well, they've been fighting for a long time because
Yeah.
I think it was over the first Conor fight.
I think
When he fought Floyd and Oscar was like dumping on it, and then he tried to sign Canelo to fight him. So him and Dana been going at it for a while.
well, they're not announcing what UFC fighter, but I'm calling it now. I think that very soon we're going to announce, I think it's July 13th was the date he said,
I think
Oscar De La
McGregor
Hoya.
gets him.
He actually
in
said
boxing.
July
Even
13th
in
I'm making
boxing.
my comeback, and dropped the mic and walked off the stage. And they said against a mixed martial art. I think it's going to be McGregor.
But you know what that means? Sadly,
he's going to ruin his
no, it
name.
means he's broke.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
There's no way if you're sitting in a promoter's seat, you have your own company, Golden Boy
He's damn near
Promotions,
50 years old, right? He
He's
got to be
broke.
maybe
That's
older.
what he's doing.
Wait a minute. Everybody's coming back at 50. It's the new trend.
No.
What do you mean he's broke?
You don't have
There's
any
no
money.
way he's broke. He's just
I guarantee it. He has no. He lost all his fighters to Al Heyman and
The zone.
Eddie Hearn.
Yeah.
How
He
do you-
lost all his fighters. He's got no real champions
So how do you
anymore.
think he-
Canelo's not even signed with him anymore.
probably wearing those fishnet stockings.
That might have hurt.
Posing
That
for
might have
picture.
hurt with the 2-2 on. That might have hurt his
Who's Canelo signed to? What is it? The DZ? What is
The
it?
zone.
the zone.
The zone.
He's not Eddie Hearn now, I believe.
Yeah.
Eddie Hearn's getting all the fighters.
Yeah, why don't
Terrence Crawford's under him too.
That's the
No,
problem.
he's with Terrence Crawford's with
Was he with Hearn first?
no.
We got to get Dimitri on here because he was talking
Yeah, we got
about
to get Boo Boo on here.
because he was talking about how he figured he signed with the zone. Now these fights have to happen. They're under the same umbrella. Like why is this guy not matching these fights? You know what I mean?
We should get-
And the problem.
Chalos.
The problem with Dimitri is he's wasting all his good years not
Well,
fighting.
he's trying to.
we should get him on a conference. On a call, get him on a conference call and tell him we're going to get him in here.
He's going.
We can
3, 4,
send
5
this
years
to
without,
to Canelo.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of the guys don't want to fight him. A, because they don't believe he brings in enough of a draw,
Yeah.
and B, he has an awkward side on his southpaw.
Way awkward.
Yeah.
He fights both
Yeah.
sides. He's down here. He's down here. He don't throw
He's-
punches from the
he's not
regular angle that you see punches coming in a
Yeah.
boxer. He's like,
His
So
jab
if you beat him, you're not going to look good doing it.
Yeah.
it's
You know what
going to
I'm
be
saying?
it's a tough fight because it
For
gives you so
anybody.
much to look at.
Yeah.
But I don't. And maybe when he comes, we'll have to ask him. I don't understand why he hasn't had a big time world championship big money fight.
That's what I'm telling you. He signed. These guys are ducking there. They're fighting this one and that one and this one and that one.
I seen him calling out one of the Chalos.
I seen him call out everybody.
But a lot of guys, I'm not
Relentless.
saying this is him, but a lot of guys call out guys because they want the payday.
No, he's really
I'm
doing
not
it.
saying he does.
Even his promoter's saying it. Like he's like, we try to line up these fights and nobody wants to take the fight.
And that's not good because he's going
It's sad.
too much time in between fights.
It's
You know?
sad because we're not seeing the best fights.
Right, and you only get better the more you fight.
Yeah.
So it's too bad for him.
You're gonna go to break. NakedSports.com. We rise. We'll be back.
All right, anytime.
Let's bring Jaylon.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's start going in on that.
It's
All right, hang on 1 second.
Oh,
Hang on.
all right.
So,
Yeah, I just had a client before.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, my body sore.
Been filming.
I had one more day hot today.
You do.
I don't get the post office.
Yeah.
He's a hand model. Marvin. He's like, he works so hard. Welcome to the Face Radio. My name's Ron Roberts. How are you today?
So little do these guys know that they're live right now, but I just wanted you all to be able to see what really happens behind the scenes.
There you go. Thank you, Ron.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. See, that's what they get. Forgot I'm in control. But we wanted to give a huge shout out to our show sponsor this evening, Maplewood Landscaping and Nursery, for donating facade and labor to help with this project. Which project that is, I don't know. What's the project, Jarrod?
The project is the donating this facade. We're doing a makeover for a yard.
All right, so do it. What yard?
In North Providence family.
All right, so they're basically donating the sod and everything and the project to the North Providence family. So we wanted to say thank you and give them a shout out on the show. This company is always trying to help and give back as well. They're located at 495 Phoenix Ave, Cranston, Rhode Island. Your one-stop shop. They do it all. Contact Justin. He'll be sure to help you with whatever you need. You can see the phone number and address, Maplewood Landscaping and Nursery. Both phone numbers are up on the screen right now, and their website and their email address. So feel free to reach out to them. And, we should always try and support our small local businesses, especially right now after COVID. So that is it for the shout out. And now we're back with Jarrod, Todd, Marvin, and
Jaylon.
I almost said Jaylon, but it's Jaylon.
Magnificent.
I wanted to make sure I got it right.
Robert himself.
There we go.
Robert Buttons. The man behind it.
I don't understand the buttons, but this is We Rise Podcast with Jarrod Tillinghast, Todd the Hulk, Chattel, and Marvin Barnes. Okay, you're back live, boys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can we have our mic back now?
You can have it back in a minute.
Thank you.
As soon as you behave, which isn't probably going to happen.
Not gonna happen.
So how'd you guys come up with the name?
No, we're asking you questions, buddy.
That's a
No, that's a
question.
Interview the
You can't
interviewee.
take over my show.
We ride.
We rise. Jarrod, how you come up with that name?
Come on, Todd. He asked you.
I was there.
I had nothing to do with this.
We rise. We were going back and forth about it for a while. So first the show was going to be like, we were going to bring on, athletes, football players, boxers, MMA, people that, whatever. Then we were just like, you know what? Let's just talk about rock bottoms and how you got there and what you did to get up out of that.
A lot of sports stories. I like that.
That's what we want to ask you today. So let's stop.
Yeah,
Let's
leads
go.
right into it. Good.
Let's go. So let's start off when you were younger. What was life like growing up? Maybe in your teenage years.
Where'd you come
Things
from?
like that. Where'd you come from?
So up until 12, I grew up in Cranston with my grandmother. She owned a big 3-story Victorian out in Edgewood, down the street from Patuxent Village.
That's where I grew up.
Yeah. So beautiful neighborhood, man. And my mother had 5 kids, so probably like two black families in the neighborhood. because everybody knew what I was doing with kids. But yeah, till I was 12, and then our house burned down. So my mom ended up moving back to Providence, the South Side, and yeah, so that's where I grew up till I was 12, and then 13. Things kind of took a turn.
That's when you got your college degree.
I wish I was
Right out of middle school.
And he was on the Forbes 500 list.
More like my street degrees, man, or trying to, man. But early on, 13, I started smoking weed a lot, selling weed, and most people know that takes a lot of your ambition, man. And I was an avid sports player, basketball, football, and it just seemed like my life revolved around smoking weed, selling weed, and then the wrong crowd came with that. And early on, I always noticed I was somebody that always was I was easily influenced, always was trying to impress others and do things for others to make people like me or think I'm cool. And long story short, that caught me a 20-year sentence at the age of 17.
So that's what I wanted to talk about. So is that what you feel like your rock bottom is? Like at that moment, let's recap that day or that mindset of that day and what happened. Walk us through that day.
Okay. So I wish I could say it was just a bad day and a mistake, but it wasn't. It was a lifestyle of living in the streets, hustling, trying to be a wannabe thug, impressing this one. I know the girls that I was attracted to, like the tough guys and the kids that had the guns on them when I was making money, and I wanted to be that and exemplify that. And
can I ask? Let me cut you real quick, just because I just want to. Why do you think that is? Why is that what women, like the young girls now, are drawn to? Because what happened to the guy that's working and going to college? Like now it seems like everything's turned where these young girls are more enamored by the street guys.
Because it's a lack of responsible men in the household. So, and a lot of times those girls and those young men don't have what a man is and what a responsibility and life lessons and wisdom and work ethic. So they might be attracted to dating what their mother dates, or vice versa. The young kid wants to act like the dude that's mentoring him on the streets, you know what I mean? And most of the time it's for the wrong thing, or he doesn't have that father role model around. So I think it comes a lot from that. And then from the spiritual aspect, we know the enemy wants to attack the man, the head of the household. Biblically, God created men and women to have roles, and the man's role is to provide and protect. So if he can take the providing to protect the other household, that's dysfunction right there.
Correct, right. So then the whole family's out of alignment, so to speak. All right, so you get a 20-year.
I was trying to. So how did what led up to that? Like that whole thing. That scenario, that situation, that day.
Okay. So I was 17 at the time, and I was on a home pass from Ocean Tides. And just previous few months before that, I got in trouble with the law again. I had caught with a pocket full of crack cocaine on me, and I was hustling at the time. And I got caught red-handed, and I was 17, 2 weeks out from my 18th birthday. And the judge said, all right, we're going to give you a chance. You've been in and out for small crimes, but it keeps seeming to escalate, but we're going to give you one more chance and send you to a program called Ocean Tide. She told me that's the Harvard of alternative programs versus training school. So I was like, I'll take that. I take that. And but that wasn't enough to wake me up. That wasn't enough for the lights to go off. Like, Jaylon, you're 17, man. You either want to go to college, you want to focus on a career, figure out what your vocation is. And that wasn't enough to wake me up. So I got put in the program, and in the program you get weekend passes, you get to go home. So I was right back to the same old stuff on the weekends, and then I would just go to Ocean Tides. So one weekend I came home, and I was with another individual, and we both had firearms on us, and we were going somewhere. I can't remember exactly where we going, but we ended up walking out between two houses, going to the next street, and a Providence detective happened to be riding by. He sees two kids coming out the cut, and he stops us, and he starts questioning us. But he doesn't jump out his vehicle immediately. So he's questioning us. We're telling him we're going somewhere. We're just trying to get him out of our head. and he jumps out. So when he jumps out, we both turn around and run. And back then we used to wear the Air Forces not laced up. And when I went to turn around and run, I bumped into the kid I was with, and my shoe fell off. So now we're running. So obviously he's gonna chase the slow one with the shoe missing. So the kid goes one way, I go one way. The cop ends up chasing me, and out of the midst of that, I get shot in the arm and then apprehended.
Oh, he shot at you?
Shot at me.
Did he see your gun?
So let's get into the juicy stuff. So to this day, as I speak before God, you know, me and Todd were good friends, and we met in my sister's mother's church, and a powerful man of God. I look up to him and value his advice and friendship. And I've told him the story before, but to this day, Brother Marv, I don't know why that officer shot me. So being 17 in jail and sitting there, I had a lot of resentment towards officers, and just I know firsthand how they could be dirty, but then growing in the
But he said he seen a gun, though, right?
So let me get into it. So again, I had a lot of resentment, but now just having a matured mind and trying to put every aspect in it, who knows? But so during the pursuit, at first I hear the command, stop running. You know, I'm thinking I'm getting away. I gotta get away. I'm not going back to training school. I'm getting away. And so I'm running, and I'm running with my hand on my waistband just so the weapon doesn't fall. So then it commands turn to stop or shoot, and I'm like, nah, he can't shoot.
Yeah, your back's turned.
My back's turned. I'm thinking he's just trying to scare me, and for whatever reason, man, we get to the next set of yards, and he starts firing, and I get hit. And the first fence I cleared, then he hits me. The second fence I try to clear it, and my arm gives out, and I'm apprehended. So to this day, to give an honest answer, I don't know why, but I was charged with 2 assaults on a police officer with firearms. So to justify his actions, he said that I waved my weapon at him twice.
Wow.
Hence I'm standing here today, blessed that bullet didn't kill me.
Do you think maybe, because I'm looking at trying to figure out why he would shoot you.
Mm-hmm.
And we see it every day.
Mind you, I had 8 years to ponder this. So,
Well, I'm going to answer the question. I know it might not sound good on some ears, but he probably did it because he knew he could. You know what I mean? Like,
He's in that area.
No, it's just, I know I can do this and I can just say whatever I want. Who's going to believe you over a detective, you know?
There's other way to look at it is that there are some guys that are trained for that. If you're running and you got like an ex-military guy that happened to become a cop, he sees you running, but you holding on to something on your waist, it's not hard to tell you got a gun because what the hell are you holding on to?
mm-hmm.
So, you know, maybe he could have seen something we didn't see. Or
But at the end of the day, and
his back was turned and he was
that,
running.
and there was no imminent threat to his life.
Right,
So,
because he wasn't.
so when you,
training protocol.
right, so when you're saying what he might have thought, the fact is, if there's no threat upon your physical well-being, shooting somebody from the back is
This guy
good.
Let's
probably
think
just-
about.
Hold on. To Jarrod's defense, I feel like both of you brothers are right. Again, I had 8 years to ponder this. So at first, it was just like, he's a dirty cop and this and that. And then the Black Lives Matter movement came, and it was just like, I couldn't even watch it because I had so much anger. And I'm like, yo, I know these cops are dirty. But to be honest, I take the position, the majority of the police that put on their uniform and go to work today are good men, trying to provide, trying to protect the community. But then you got a bad bunch. So who knows? Jarrod makes a good point. He could have been that, but again, my back was turned. The firearm never left my waistband. The only reason why I know where they found the firearm is when I was going to trial and they started admitting pieces of evidence and showing pictures. So I was like, all right, now I'm seeing where the gun dropped. And you know what I mean? I'm getting all this, compiling all this evidence to try to put together in my head. But or it could be from what we've been seeing in unarmed teenagers or men been getting shot. I don't know if he was nervous or and like what type of adrenaline was going through. I don't know, man. I'm trying to play both sides because I feel like he should have never fired this and that. But I don't know what was going through his mind. You know what I mean?
But here's what I want to say, right? Because I've seen a lot of this stuff and listened to both sides of each argument. And I know it's a touchy subject and a lot of people don't like to speak against one side or for the other side because of what it might, the implications. But at the end of the day, one of those bullets could have killed you.
Amen.
And then you wouldn't be here to tell your story or defend yourself. And now the story would have been, or he turned the fire at me, and I,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Listen, not to, because I can't really speak on things about, what it is, but, one officer in the same department says, no, there's nothing there. Somehow it gets to the higher rank, and then they say, yeah, there's something there, and you follow the the trail, and it leads to certain things, and I agree, there are out there.
I just don't like
there are those.
So I feel like you have just as much input as say so when you keep a quiet mouth, and so you see somebody, you're sworn to protect and serve, and there's guys that they're not doing their job right, but you turn the other eye. I feel like you're just as involved.
Is there not a greater cause?
That happens, I think, more so than any of us know, because he's your brother. The brotherhood, and they turn a blind eye to what, like they kneeling on his neck.
So
they
what
let
I'm saying is when that happened, there was no real threat from what you're saying, because that's only one side of the story. To be fair, right?
Yes.
But what about, this is what I was going to say. What about in these areas, these cops, these police officers have their jobs, and sometimes their job is to talk to this rat and this rat and this rat, and who's that? Who's in this neighborhood? Who's that kid? So maybe, just maybe, Jaylon was living a certain way. He knew he was living a certain way. You know what I'm saying?
But you still,
most definitely he went too far. But what I'm saying is, like,
he was on
some of these guys want to act like they're heroes. Let me take this kid out because he's doing such and such. So they get this. They feel like they have this authority to do that and make that decision.
that's what I'm saying. When you said he did it because he can. Because you're quote unquote already a criminal. If you start running, he already knows, this guy must be a criminal. And B, in most of these inner city neighborhoods, they know you don't have the financial resources to really fight and present a really solid case.
So all I gotta do is charge him now.
Yeah, so you don't get one charge, you'll get 5 or 6, and you're gonna plead a 1 or 2.
And that's what they do. They'll give you a 5 or 6 and see which one sticks.
Well, he took it to trial and got 20 years.
20 years. But I don't want to stay there because we know, as men of faith, and we know Romans 8:28 said, "For we know all things work together for good for all those who love Christ, who've been called according to His purpose." You know what I mean? And I don't want to turn this platform to religious, but you're talking to a man that's been saved by God's grace, and life been turned around, and God's hand of favor has been on me. How could I not glorify and talk about my Savior Jesus Christ?
So what happened in there?
Chills.
So we talked. What happened? After you was in there, you're still living the same. You're in there.
Yeah. So
doing
you had to go to jail with a right?
Yeah, I went to the journey was a journey, man. But I just see, looking back, I see God just working and moving, and the scripture that says the potter shapes and molds the clay. And I just see His hand in my life and how He was working and moving. So mind you, I told you I was 17 at the time, 2 weeks out from my 18th birthday. So at the time I was on juvenile FOC. I forget what it stands for, but
further notice of the court.
Okay, they know.
Further notice, yes.
I didn't know for the record.
FOC.
So all that means is if you catch a charge before it was 21 when you guys were younger.
21,
Now it's 19. So if you was to catch a charge up to 21, you can stay in the juvenile house
until 21.
Until you're 21. So it was just more so to preserve your adult record, so you don't go into adulthood with felonies. But then they dropped it down to 19. So they kept me in training school for 8 years. I get waived because I'm 18 now. I get waived. They're like, "Nah, we're not keeping you here. Your FOC is only into 19. We're gonna waive you." So I get bailed out. I do 8 months. I get bailed out. Now I'm on bail for a year. So slowly but surely, I get right back into the streets, man. Around
After all of that,
on bail,
man. Around all that. But listen, so now I'm getting closer to my. In my mind, I'm taking this trial, Lord. You know what happened, and if I can just get one jury member to believe what happened, you know what I mean, and I might have a fighting chance. But now I'm drawing closer to God. So now I'm drawing closer to God, and I'm like, oh, I'm in a jam, man. I need help. And
Good.
as I'm drawing closer to the corner, I feel like a hypocrite because, I still have things in my life that are not approving of them. So, I had guns in my house at the time. I got rid of those. I had drugs in the house. I got rid of those. I'm like, all right, Lord, I'm ready to do my part. You know what I mean? And he just put on my heart, trust me. So, and it was hard, but I go to trial, lose 20-year sentence. But my faith was rooted, and I'm like, all right, Lord, I trust you, man. Whether you're gonna overturn this case or not, I trust you. So I get sent to maximum security, and I get there. It's a whole bunch of young boys my age, 19, 20, 22, life, double life, triple life. All the kids I grew up in the streets with, all the kids I was running with, and I was right back on that time.
Can I ask you a question? Because it's kind of mind-boggling to me. You're 17 and you hear a man tell you he's going to take away 20 years of your life. What are you thinking in that moment? Like, because you don't know if you're going to do all the 20, if you're going to do.
You don't know if you're ever going to get out again.
Right. Like anything can happen to you while you're in there. So, like, what goes through your mind when somebody hits the thing and says 20 years in the adult corrections facility?
I think I was in a state of shock, and that saying you can hear your heart beat in a pound. That was true, and I felt sweat dripping the sentence day, and so it's different. Like when you're fighting, you're in trial, you're going through trial, but you're still incarcerated. I was fighting it from the streets.
So you still got a taste of that freedom, and then
it's always easier when you're on the street. Yep. It's always easier when you're fighting on the street than when you're getting shipped in from.
It definitely is. And then, but I was reprimanded on the spot. Remember how we was talking state of execution already? This is the day. They was like, nah, we're reprimanding you on the spot.
Yeah, 20 years. They ain't giving you a chance. Then I would have been like, woo, I'm fast. Catch me when you can.
Reprimanding me on the spot. Really? And, that was the start of my journey. So again, I get to Max, man, and it was just, Max is just a dreary, just depressed building, man, and it's rough, man. But so for about 4 or 5 years, I'm back on that silly stuff. I'm in and out of SAG fights, arguing with cops, contraband, and But it wasn't until 4.5 years into my sentence when I feel like I just. I believe with all growth, there has to be honest and sincere self-reflection. Boom. Honest and sincere, because you can front for everybody else, but in your heart how you feel. And just on that bunk pressing, they call it press the bunk when you're laying on in your bunk. And I just felt like, yo, Jaylon, you're 24. The biggest thing you have to show for yourself is a GED. Not only that, you don't take anything serious. You're the biggest goofball around. There's younger kids in here that's more serious than I'm like. I just felt like in order for me to have purpose and do something myself, I needed God. I needed God's plan in my life. And so that started my journey. But I already had started the process again in the CCRI and starting to take my education serious. So now I'm growing, and I finally get reclassified to a lower security building, medium security. And when I get there, man, they have a big church ministry, and there was just a lot of men on Sundays that would go down and worship. And I was like, I need that. I admire that other men that have a relationship with God, because that's what God's calling us to have.
Yeah.
You said something earlier. To get to that point, it takes someone like you, a street kid, hanging with those kids, carrying guns, contraband, all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, you go to you become vulnerable. That's not easy. To be vulnerable and to look in the mirror and own your stuff is a lot of people can't do it.
True.
Especially when you're already blaming a cop that shot you.
Or you're blaming, it doesn't matter. You could be blaming the mailman. You could be blaming anybody. If you're pointing the finger, as long as you're pointing the finger and you're blaming this, that, and for things that are happening in your life, then you're gonna be on that island stuck for a while.
You're right. You gotta be ready to take responsibility for your actions. And even if somebody wronged you, what did you do wrong in the situation?
I think of this. What all the things you did did wrong and never got punished for it.
Amen.
That's that's what happens, and that's a good way to look at it, because I looked at it like that too. I always looked at like, how did this happen to me? And I'm like, well, well, you know,
Balls could talk.
Let's be honest.
and that kind of, when I think about that, those thoughts, I'm like, all right, this happens because God's almost slapping me and waking me up, because, you know, I may have done it in the past. How many people did I do it? How many times did I do this, that, and
Then you got to start saying thank you.
Then you start self-reflecting, and now you become a better person, not better than anybody else, but better than the person you were yesterday and the day before, because you become vulnerable and you lay in your own, like I call it, you lay in your own shit.
So a lot of people say, oh yeah, another guy, you know, claiming no God because he's in jail and all that. All these guys say that. Yeah. But to me, you know, just listening to you talk, and, you know, thank God I've never been in prison, but I think it would be harder in that environment to get close to God, because you're around all negativity all the time. So when people try to degrade somebody who comes to Christ or, you know, accepts their faith in those predicaments as, oh yeah, he's just saying that because he's got nothing. No, that's
or you're scared, or
bring up
that's
a good point. And there was a lot of dudes it frustrated me, and, you know, because they see people go to prison and hide behind religion, whether it be Islam or Christianity, and you know what I mean. And I, you know, but you know, you see it change the walk. And then I used to tell dudes I was real cool with, like, they used to see me going there because there would be a service every day of the week, and I would be at every service. And they're like, oh man, you don't be excited being in church? And I'm like, brother, I'd rather be around God's people than be in the block gossiping or just wasting our life away playing cards, you know what I mean? So, and then I used to have to tell him, brother, like, it's harder to live how God is calling you to live. You don't think I want to get on the phone and talk to this chick or have her send me money? You don't think I want to be looking at these magazines? You don't think I get angry and want to swear? And I'm like, brother, it's harder to live like this, you know what I mean? And so that's what I always used to try to break down to them. And by God's grace, though, man, we can't live this way without God's grace.
You guys got someone commenting. They said, "This is a powerful testimony." It's Damon Scott Harold Sr.
Oh yeah, my man.
A powerful testimony, and then he said he'd like to link up with you.
Hey man, I'm down. It's what me, Todd, and Brother Marv do. We try to link up with all Christians, and our thing is evangelism, getting out and spreading the word.
Because we talked about it last week, right? About
being bold,
getting to the young guys before they get to that. Because once they're hardened and they got in the system, it's harder sometimes to reach them. You know, once they're already in the mix. So we have you know, I don't want to say a responsibility, but we do to reach them while they're young, to instill these type of values. Because like you said, a lot of these families don't have that male role model. So it will come better from the lips of a guy like you, a guy like Todd, who's been through the ringer, who's been through the real hardcore stuff. And now you can sit here and you sound very polished. You sound very, you know, focused, and you know what I mean? And regardless of what, you know, things you still struggle with, you're on a path. You know what I mean? Before we were not even on the path. We just was on the path to destruction all the time.
The path that we take when you talk about what you're doing, it's such a path. You have to be so mindful that it's real admirable that you can walk that path, and you know, because it's not about running the race, because this ain't a race to win. This is a marathon that never ends. Mm-hmm. So the race never ends. You got to have stamina to go the distance.
Marathon, that is what it is.
You got to have stamina to go the distance, because anybody is good for 30 seconds, 3 minutes, but how long can you last? How long is that fortitude inside of you? Because I tell you, like I told everybody before, I'm going to tell you again, you might have a little, but you don't have the stamina, because I'm going to go the distance for what I love and what I believe in. And I know
that's what it is.
I know it's a never-ending race, but I was born for this. That's what we're made for. We're built for this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that our life was designed that way. God designed our life that way. That's the way. Whatever we went through was for a reason. That's right. He said it. He said that we
characters.
That's right.
So just think about a championship fighter who's never been tested. Can we truly crown him a champ if he hasn't had a real test? Or the QB that went to the Super Bowl, is he gonna value and cherish it more than a third string quarterback? Of course he was, because he was on the field taking those reps. And that third string quarterback, he was there, but he wasn't in the field. He wasn't in the trenches. So those trials and tests build character. And a lot of times we catch ourselves praying, Lord, change my circumstances, but we stop and stop. We don't realize that God put you in those circumstances for a reason. Instead of praying us to get out, Lord, help me get through.
And get the blessing or whatever, or the lesson that you're trying to get me through it.
Amen.
So I wanted to say this. I was talking to Todd, like last week, I think it was, and I want to say the same thing to you. And I appreciate your story. I appreciate the growth. You know what I'm saying? And I'm honored to call you a brother.
Appreciate
you know. But like I said to Todd, you know, sometimes we get into these conversations, and I said, don't talk about your failures. Talk about your successes. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to take time to sit and appreciate the accomplishments and not always the failures, because you're always going to fail at some point. But if you're accomplishing and achieving goals, that means you're growing in certain areas. So focus on that. The Bible says in Philippians, we have to, you know, set our mind on pure things, you know, things of good report. Yes. So why are we always looking at what we didn't do, what we should have did, instead of thinking about all the accomplishments and the things that we did achieve? Because right now, you sitting here speaking like this, is accomplishments.
Yeah,
Todd being here, going through the thing, it's an achievement. Jarrod being, that's an achievement, because either one of us, our lives could have went a whole different direction and never got to where we've been going.
And the thing is, what's funny is the world will try to remind you of who you was.
And we ain't that no more.
So what's even harder to do, like you said, is you yourself try to remind you of who you was, not knowing, not really putting a conscious thought into like, who am I now, though? You know what I'm saying?
I think once in a while it's good to go back and look at our accomplishments, you know, once in a while. But I always say, for me, the way I did it was like, okay, I'm on this path and I'm doing good, but I'm not done. There's a lot of work to do. So if I go to first grade, that means I know too much. I'm going to stay back in kindergarten and keep learning and growing and learning and growing and learning and growing, because I never want to advance myself, because then I feel like, you know, I made it.
That's kind of like the Bible says. The Bible, Paul said, I speak with authority, but I haven't arrived. So, you know, I get it. Like, we want to stay in that place of growth and continue to grow, because if you're stagnant, which means you're moving backwards or you're moving forward.
And I would tell people, you can't drive your car straight looking in your rearview mirror. You got to look forward. You can't keep looking in the rear view, because what's back there, you've already passed it.
Yeah. You're gonna crash.
Exactly.
You just look every now and again. I get right.
I think another thing that will make people strive to be better is, if you really truly want to really truly get in your mind, we think we have forever. We think we have forever, but we don't. We don't have forever. We just go to our life every day, and we wake up in the morning and we find something to be cranky and miserable about, and then it sets us off, and now we're in this. You woke up. You got breath. How many people we know that aren't here?
Yeah.
More dreams, more ideas, more people that didn't do anything are in the cemetery.
Or confined in the hospital, or still locked up in a prison cell, or in some bad predicament.
Well, there's some talented people in there.
Some of the most talented
artists, tattoo art. They make tattoo guns. I used to boil water with like a little
talented brothers, man.
A paper clip.
That's talent.
I wanted to say,
in a plug socket.
I wanted to say this if I could too. So what God's been putting on my heart lately, and how I try to live is impact. So when you get saved, you don't get saved just to walk around and say you're a Christian. Out of 600 million or whatever it is sperms, you made it. That's not chance. That's a plan and a purpose. So impact. I look at men like Jarrod and what he's doing with his boxing, and how he's allowing people to come in here and lives get changed from boxing. And in the Saturday morning Bible study, how Todd had an MMA career, one of the biggest hearts I know as a giver. And surprisingly or not, people are drawn to him. He's able to share the word. And how Marv, he's steadfast in faith, and he knows scripture. And he's about encouragement and sharing his faith. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than you. And if you have the best gift of faith and having that intimacy I was saying earlier, it's about a personal relationship with God. And when you come to God, he's going to point you to his son. And his son, that's where I got my identity from, being a child of God, a Christian, you know, calling myself that. It's an honor to know a God that created me and has a plan for me. So I want to leave you with, brothers, impact. What impact are we making? When we're at the store, a simple hi and bye, if we're saying that out of true, sincere love, that's impact. What are we doing with our time, our gifts, our money? Are we leaving an impact to expand God's kingdom and have an influence? Because there's so much negative influence out there right now.
There's enough.
On the TV,
We don't need to add
on the
to that.
radio. But what type of impact and legacy are you leaving?
Amen. Amen.
Todd, bring us home,
Bring
baby.
us home.
Oh. Where's my phone?
I don't know. It's your phone.
No way. Oh, here it is. Here. All right, we're going to leave you with this. The show's over already. But till next time. So, like Jaylon was just saying, right? I got to go with what Jaylon was saying. John 14, Jesus said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. God's pointing to his son. We got to join, get in agreement, and move forward. Let's go. We rise.
Hey, man, we rise. Peace
Right here. No, right here.
Yo, put your shotguns away.
Come on, bro. Jaylon, come on.
I started this trend.
This is good here. This is strong here.
We'll be doing Brawl for It All 2021 too. So one of my shows up in the ring at Brawl for It All, and I have people call me from the crowd. They're like, Jarrod. People in the crowd, they're calling on it. I'm gonna get T-shirts made.
That would be nice to go like that.
Yep.
This was a great.
We're gonna leave it at this. This is how we're gonna go out. Rhode Island Ramos says, great haircut.
Ramos will be coming on too. Barbershop Love. He's got a great story. He'll be coming on.
I'm talking about me and you, son Mario. So I'm sure he's on watching today.
Mario, how did that happen? Mario is my stepson and he's dating his mother. I don't know how does that even happen. It's like we got this unique relationship.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I go over the house. Marvin's in the recliner with his wife.
What are you going to the house for?
To see you. To see you.
He's taking
That's it. Say bye.
We ride.
They think that we don't know, so we gon' show them that this kingdom about to rise up. They wanna keep us low. They think that we don't know, so we gon' show them that this kingdom about to rise up. Rise, 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 rise. Messengers of Jesus Christ, fighting till we see his kingdom. They wanna keep us low, they think that we don't know, so we gon' show them that this kingdom about to rise up. They wanna keep us low, they think that we don't know, so we gon' show them that this kingdom about to rise up.